Hey, church, this is Pastor Mike. Um, Today, I wanted us to continue looking at forgiveness and repentance like we did yesterday. Um, in these times where we can share some words and some encouragement together. And one of the things that I find Christians, church members, just people often think is that there is an inherent passive nature to forgiveness. It's one of the reasons why sometimes we don't want to forgive somebody because we think, well, that's it. There's no conclusion, there's no closure to this. I wanted to finally hash it out. I wanted to get to the bottom of it. I wanted to say my piece, and now I just have to forgive and pretend it never happened. And that kind of assumption of passivity can make us almost resent forgiveness. It's something that we hold off until the very end, only after we've gone through all the paces of being angry and making our voice heard, and then we can forgive. But I want to encourage us with the words of Paul. When he wrote to the Colossians in chapter 3, he said this. He said, "As God's chosen people, holy and loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience." And then he said this, "Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone." There's this idea that when we bear with one another, that is a phrase that makes a lot of sense to me because Lord knows we have all had to experience bearing with someone that is upsetting you or frustrating you. Often that happens in families. And if we look at our families with that assumption of, even if my dad or my sister or my uncle, whoever it might be, they made me angry, I know they're still going to be my family. I've got to bear with it. I've got to get through this and figure out the solution because I can't just cut bait and run. They're family. Paul is reminding the church, you are family. Bear with one another. Sometimes it'll be hard. Sometimes it involves an active intentionality to bear with someone and forgive them. It involves doing something that doesn't come easy. It involves making a harder choice than letting a resentment build within us. But Paul ties this somewhat difficult teaching to the church to a very true theological point. He says, "Forgive as the Lord forgave you." That's the good news here. Forgiveness is hard, but we don't have to completely map out that road blind. We have been given a roadmap to forgiveness that God has shown us in the midst of our sin against God. In the midst of our rebellion, God didn't just say, you know what, I've got 7 billion other kids and this one's just out of the will. Instead, God continued to seek us. He continued to call out for us. He continued to send his son to die for us. See, forgiveness sometimes means bearing with and sacrificing and reaching out and seeking that reconciliation. But when we forgive others just as God forgave us, we realize all it takes is one decision. The decision that we are not going to let resentment or anger determine our response in this world, that instead we choose love. And that's why Paul ends this little teaching to the Colossian church. And he says, over all of these virtues, the compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, patience, forgiveness, all of these things that we're putting on as Christians, he says, over all of those, put on love. And it binds all of them together in perfect unity. If we don't forgive with love, then what we really have is a quiet grudge. And if we're not kind with love, then really we're just being nice and polite. When we love each other, when we recognize that love and give it the same weight in our hearts and our minds as we would give the love that we have for our parents, our siblings, our spouse, if we say, my church family is that close and that important to me, I love them that much, then we will find resolutions when things come up. We'll be able to talk about them, not with the tense air of, will this be the last time we ever talk? But with the confident air of, I love you and you love me, so let's figure this out so we can be together again. What a difference love makes in the path to forgiveness. And what an awesome opportunity it is for us to be like God, to be like Christ when we forgive others and seek out opportunities to do so. So, God bless you today, and may today be a day not only of contemplating your own forgiveness, but in forgiving others when they have crossed your path or done something wrong. May you find the strength in you from God to start that hard but wonderful process. God bless today.